company, always on the run.
How important was it, and how special was it, recording in Headley Grange? Because you also, I mean, Led Zeppelin were due in there to record Physical Graffiti.
Yes, right.
Sometime after you, so they were booked in. So there was this kind of you had an energy about you. You had to get it done quickly.
Yes.
Because you knew that Led Zeppelin were going to be knocking on the door. Did that clearly must have helped in some way give you that energy you talk about?
I think because we were busting to record. We'd been playing these songs, the three of us, and then Boz in the final month, for about 4 or 5 months. So we pretty much knew the arrangements for recording, because it is important, I think, if you go into a studio to know what you're going to do before you go in there, rather than work it out. I know you can work it out in the studio, but it's more productive to do it outside. So you go in with the definitive idea of what you're going to do. Save time and money, really. But so by the time we got Headley Grange was offered to us, we were busting to record, and it came out of the blue. Peter Grant phoned us up and said, "Look, how do you feel about going into this place called Headley Grange? It's set up with Ronnie Lane's mobile studio, and we'd never encountered that before. We'd always gone to a studio in London usually, and spent 2 hours trying to find somewhere to park and all that shit." So I thought, this sounds great. So we went down there, and it was this tumble-down old house in Hampshire, and Ronnie Lane's, he had an Airstream caravan, the American aluminium thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd kitted it out with I don't think it was 24, I think it was 16-track recording. And there was a guy there called Ron Neverson, who was our engineer, who we used again after this album, who happened to be there. So we said, yeah, let's do it. So we went down there, moved into this whole place, and we had the place 24/7. It was amazing. We could do a vocal at midnight or whatever. It was just great freedom, which we never had before. It's very much more creative to have no time restrictions on. Obviously you can overdo it and go on too late and all that stuff. But we got a lot done in a very short space of time.
How important was it that you were managed by Peter Grant, and how did he come to manage you? How did that start?
Well, when we finally, before we got Boz, the three of us said, look, if we're going to put a group together and go out on the road, we need a manager. So me being me, I said to Paul, well, who's the biggest group in the world? And he said, well, Led Zeppelin. I said, well, let's start with their manager and work down. I thought it was a good way to, rather than, start at the top and you can only 50-50 chance of him saying yes or no. And luckily, a guy that used to work with Free called Clive Coulson, I think you used to know Clive, tour manager, he said, look, I've got a number if you want to call him and see what he says, which we did. And he said, yeah, I'd like to come down and hear the band. We got all excited, booked the local village hall for like 2:00 in the afternoon, went down there all keen, played away for about an hour, and then another hour, and then another hour. And by which time it was about 6:00 at night, and Paul said, oh, look, he said, we must be so naive to think that Led Zeppelin's manager's got to come and see us rehearse, And Paul got really annoyed and said, let's go to the pub. So we played a couple of songs really angrily and stormed out. And sitting in the car park was Peter Grant in his car. And Paul said something like, nice of you to turn up. And he said, well, actually, I've been here all afternoon. And we couldn't believe it. So we said, well, why didn't you come in? He said, well, if I'd have come in, you'd have been nervous. You wouldn't have played for real. He wanted to hear us in the raw. I thought it was a very smart move on his part. He didn't want us to be intimidated, so he let us think he wasn't there and just see how we played. And that was, he was a genius as a manager.
And it was crucial as well, wasn't it, that you were, the first band really to be signed to Led Zeppelin's Swan song.
Yes.
So that, Bad Company came out as an album before Physical Graffiti.
It did. That's right.
Very important.
It was. We were the first act signed to the label, as you know, which was their, Peter Grant and their label. and basically it was Atlantic, but they had more control over the artwork and the running order and the songs and the So it was a good thing to have. And of course, each member of the band and Peter would go around suggesting, look, I think this band should be on the label. We happened to be the first, and everybody, Bonzo, Jimmy, and everybody said yes. So we were lucky with the first to go, to America with that behind us. Because I remember we went over to New York and LA for a launch party. And Peter Grant, being really grand, said, well, made sure they pushed about out on this one, So it was all the old American, razzmatazz, ice sculptures and all that crap, So it was a big event.